What if the most analyzed religious artifact in history still can't be explained by science? A mysterious cloth, a faded image of a crucified man, and the haunting possibility that it might just be real? This is the story of the Shroud of Turin, a relic that defies explanation, challenges belief, and might be the only photograph of a resurrection. Welcome to Time Travelers Anonymous, where buried history meets forbidden truth. Let's go back to the year 1354. That's when the shroud first publicly appears in a small church in Lire, France. It's a linen cloth, 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide, showing the faint image of a man, wounds on his wrists, blood on his forehead, whip marks on his back, and a gaping spear wound in his side. It looks exactly like how the Bible describes the crucifixion of Jesus. Skeptics called it a forgery. The church was hesitant, and science wanted answers. So for decades, they studied it. In 1978, a group of scientists called the Shroud of Turin Research Project, STURP, got full access. These weren't theologians. They were chemists, physicists, imaging experts, and they came with one goal: debunk the myth. But what they found shook them. First, the image wasn't painted. There were no brush strokes, no pigments, no dyes. Second, the image is a perfect negative, meaning it becomes clearer in photographic film. In 1898, when an amateur photographer developed the first image of the shroud, he nearly dropped his camera because the negative revealed a highly detailed 3D image of a man's face. Third, they found real human blood with high levels of bilirubin, something the body produces under extreme trauma. The wounds? Consistent with Roman crucifixion techniques. The blood flow patterns? Exactly where you'd expect if someone was crucified, whipped, and pierced. Even more strange, there's no image under the blood stains, which means the blood soaked in first. And the image formed afterward. How? No one knows. Carbon dating done in 1988 dated the cloth to the Middle Ages. Case closed, right? Wrong. Because those tests were taken from a repaired section of the cloth, a corner that had been rewoven after fire damage in the 1500s. New studies using infrared spectroscopy and chemical analysis suggest the cloth may actually be 2,000 years old. And that brings us to the question no one wants to answer. How did the image get there? No paint, no burn marks, no natural process known to science. Some theorize it was caused by a burst of radiant energy, a moment of intense heat and light, like a photographic flash, or maybe something even stranger, a moment that marked the transition from death to life. The Vatican has never officially declared the shroud to be the burial cloth of Jesus, but they also haven't dismissed it, because the science doesn't lie, and the image won't go away. So, what do we learn from the Shroud of Turin? That sometimes history leaves behind evidence no one can fully explain. That faith and science aren't always enemies. Sometimes they're just looking at the same mystery from different sides, and that maybe, just maybe, some miracles leave a mark. This is Time Travelers Anonymous. Subscribe for buried relics, scientific anomalies, and truths that still glow after 2,000 years. Because in this timeline, some mysteries refuse to fade.